Welcome to the Black Doctor Collective podcast. We as Black doctors are in a unique position. We can change our communities, healthcare, and the world. Of course, we start by changing the way we see and value ourselves. I'm your host, Dr. Shanika Horn, pediatrician and physician coach, travel extraordinaire. I am so happy to have you here and listening. So let's get into it. Good morning. Welcome back to an episode of The Black Doctor. We're doing a little halfway get ready with me because I have 2 meetings in clinic today. But I have a lot to say. I know I had paused the podcast for some time because I felt like I didn't have a lot to say, but so much is happening in my work life. That is giving me, it's just like a fodder for material, to be honest. Currently, I don't know, I think for the last 2 years, I have been in one clinic, which, excuse me, if you know me, you know that I change jobs with hints of dissatisfaction, right? And I have made peace with that. We love the concept of job security. We love this idea that we will stay in a place for a long time. And that was sold to us. I don't think that's just the way things were for a long time, but that's not the way things are now. So the fact that I've been in the shop for 2 years is a miracle. I think at the end of the first year, I talked about it on the podcast that I was pretty unhappy with the way things were going, with the way a lot of things were being managed. I had a lot of questions about the way we were even doing certain follow-ups, whatever. And I had mentioned that to the owners, and they, instead of me thinking I was going to eventually just walk away from this clinic because I didn't like it, with all my list of suggestions, they counter proposed me to become the medical director. Now, at first, I was scarce-sighted, right? Like, I've never been a medical director before. I don't really know what it entails, but I do know, based on even my list of things that I evaluated, that there's a bunch of things I can change, right? So, like, why not? Why not become a medical director? Try to implement some change, see how it goes, like an experiment. To me, it felt like a no lose scenario because they had never had a medical director. They definitely needed someone to step in and do the things that I did, etc. Anyway, over the course of the year, so this is like now in the second year because I completed the first year, and now for the whole second year, I just hit my 2-year anniversary of this job. So for the whole second year, I was medical director. I've been medical director. I am. I'm saying I was. I am. I realized at some point in the year there was resistance to some of the things that really needed to be done, not just things that I felt needed to be done, because I think sometimes when you think when you're making a decision, for example, about what needs to be done and no one agrees with you, you can internalize that and be like, oh, maybe it's just me. Except in this scenario, most people agree with me that these are the changes that need to be done, except for one person. And that one person happens to have the most power in our clinic, right? It's one of the owners. Even when the other owner agrees with me, this one person makes unilateral decisions for the clinic and not in the best interest, right? So I started feeling a type of way about that, right? Because, like, what is even happening here? I can see now, and I probably could see it before, but I could see even more clearly now that not only was this the reason why the clinic was like where it was, right? Had not been able to move forward, but it's also the reason the clinic will never be able to move forward, right? Because unless this person is willing to change, no progress will be made. And I think I lasted this long because I have been convinced and gaslit in a lot of situations that a change would come, or that, you know, let's focus on some of the other things we can get done while we work on this thing. And that has obviously not come to fruition, to the point where I've now submitted my resignation from medical director. I did not quit the clinic. I'm still a pediatrician on staff, but I don't want to be a medical director in a place where I cannot impact change, especially in a way that I know would be efficient and would work. I think as doctors, we have very clear, it's so funny because medicine is so ambiguous, right? But I think as practicing physicians, we have very clear notions about like when we know something is the right thing, we know it, right? And when we have the evidence for it, because we're very evidence minded, when we have the evidence for it, it's very hard to continue to operate in a way that doesn't support that evidence. And I believe that is the number one key to burnout in medicine. We know that patients require more than a 10-minute visit. We know that we need more time to assess a situation. We don't want them all to be on polypharmacy, right? We don't want them all to just go off and try to figure things off by themselves. As you can see, people are trying to figure out vaccine science and it's not working. We know that we have a certain type of expertise to really guide and shape, educate, but that we don't have the time to do that. And we know that this is not the right way to practice medicine. And that I think creates such a cognitive dissonance that it makes it very hard to practice and you get burnt out because every day you're going into a system knowing that this is not how you would want to do things, knowing that this is not the best way to create a patient outcome and you're being asked to do it anyway in less and less time with more and more workload, with more and more constraints. I think that like that, I think I'm very familiar with, right? As a practicing physician, I have been very protective about the spaces that I enter because I don't want to worsen my burnout or fuel it or perpetuate it anyway, right? Like I have no interest in upholding the parts of the system that are creating poor patient outcomes, patient mistrust, and bad physician outcomes. I think it took me a while to see that as a medical director, that the same thing still applies. If I know something to be true, but I am asked to act in a way that ignores those truths, I will get worn down. I will get burnt out. I had inklings of it, and you always do, right? Like my amygdala, it may be up in here giving me the hints, right? Because even though sometimes she's very fight or flight, we know. At some point during the year, I set some calendar alerts, like quarterly alerts, because I'm like, this is not quite meeting some internal metric. There's some like internal fire alarm that is continuing to go off. And I I cannot pinpoint where in the house it is. Okay. Where's the fire? I smell the smoke. Very faint. It's like when you smell a hint of gas and you're like, is it something? Is it not something? I don't really know. So I set alerts on my calendar and I told myself every quarter, I'm going to evaluate, is this still working for me? Am I making the progress that I thought I could make? Is this impacting me? Am I making impact? And I think there was a couple of those quarters where I kind of ignored the assessment, but, and there were times, and sometimes I got to the assessment and I would speak up and I would say, hey, this is what's happening. Like, I don't believe in working in futility. I don't believe in spinning my wheels, and I don't believe in only addressing low-hanging fruit, right? Like, I made a lot of changes, like technology-wise, like we are totally up to date. Our follow-up is better. Our staffing is operating better. Our staff communications is better. There's so many things that are better. But the core things, namely like revenue and overall like staff culture, I cannot make an inroads into because I'm super limited in how we are managing our staff. Yeah. So I think, lesson here is that burnout is burnout, no matter what position you're in. I think I had a question, and I might have even asked this on the podcast years ago. Is it better to leave medicine and not uphold the system as it is, not uphold a culture of a place and do something else, like to quit or not to quit? That's usually the question, right? People always want to know, should I stay practicing or should I quit? Should I go into like insurance, utilization management? Should I work for big pharma, the enemy? Should I go off and do my own thing? Like, what is the answer here? And I think that that's a personal question depending on who you are. And I thought, okay, can I dismantle medicine from within? But the no one who's oppressing you is going to give you the tools to dismantle them. And I think that that's how I found my answer is for me, the pathway is not trying to reconstruct from within. I think at the end of it, the person at the top, still with the person with the money, because this is a capitalist society, the person with the money is still the deciding person. And you can make changes, you can make dents, you might be able to make inroads, but the buck stops where the buck stops. And for some people, that's great. Like maybe the inroads that they're making is enough, right? And maybe they're doing it in a way that makes it sustainable for all the people who are still in the system. And that's amazing. I think for me, this is the end of my road of trying to make an inway from the inside, right? Like I found a clinic that allows me to practice with lengthier visits, that allows me to have a good rapport with the patients, that allows me to take leave when I need to take leave, right? All of these components are there. And I think the other part of it is like, I also was like, am I asking for too much? Is this too much? I think what I want exists. I think it does not exist everywhere. I think the places where it does exist tend to be on the rarer side, but it does not mean I should not continue to strive for it and that I should not continue to ask for it. And it does not mean I'm not going to get it. And it could mean that I need to create it for myself. People have been telling me this for years. I know all of y'all listening who have told me to start my own. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Yes, I hear you. I have to do things on my own time. I'm one of those people that has to learn in the way that I learn. And I'm learning. So I think that is where I am. I think that I have gotten to the point where I feel like if the person who is running a place that I work for is not aligned with my values so that I can achieve the things that I know are correct, true, I will always suffer burn. I will always suffer moral injury. So yeah, so that's to say I submitted my resignation. I think the other story here, should have like a bunch of stories in my head all the time, but when I was like a teenager, I want to say I was like either a freshman or a sophomore in college. So like 19, 20. I was in this terrible relationship with this guy. And he was just like the worst boyfriend ever. But you know, you're like 19, and you're like, hey, it's good work. And turns out he was cheating on me. It was like a whole thing. The girl reached out to me. It was, yeah, it was a mess. And at some point, I was so swept up in the drama of this thing. It was like, this is the scenario. This is the relationship I'm in. And I'm in there and I'm having arguments with this man, boy at the time, I guess. I'm having arguments with this girl. Like, and it just kept escalating, right? Because you're getting more and more upset that things are not going the way you want it to go. Things are not going as expected. Like things are not, like people are not doing what's right. And I'm like outraged by this. And at the time, I did not realize yet. This was like a moment for me. There was a moment where I went to this guy's house and I knocked on his door. And you know, as a teenager, first of all, this is like a Caribbean household. You don't be knocking on nobody's door for fear their mama's gonna answer the door, child. Like, who's this girl at your door, boy? Luckily his brother answered. But anyway, it was like I'm trying to talk to him. He's trying to avoid me. I go to his house, I knock on his door. His youngest brother answered. His youngest brother is like, oh, he's not here. He was definitely there. And I'm outside the apartment and I'm like sitting in the hallway of this apartment building, like trying to figure out what to do. And I'm like, okay, I just need to go home. And that time I was driving in like my mom's car or something. I remember getting in the car and being like, what am I even doing here? I'm so wrapped up in this scenario. I'm so wrapped up in this horrible relationship that I don't even feel like this is not even me. I don't show up at people's houses knocking on doors. Like, what is this? Is this my TV? And I realized in that moment, if I don't like who I am, if I'm around people who are in any way influencing me, pushing me, triggering me to be a person I don't like for myself, I need to leave that situation. And that was something I figured out at 20. I was like, oh no, this is crazy. And the power here is in walking away. The power is not trying to get people to act the way you want them to act. People are going to do whatever they want to do. The control is outside of myself. And I didn't really have the words for it. All I knew and all I told myself was that if someone has me acting in a way that I do not like myself in, I have to leave that scenario. And I think that that's where I am with this job. I'm at the point, I'm actually about to be late for a meeting, but I'm at the point where I feel like I lost the plot. Like, I don't even like how I'm showing up because I'm so frustrated. I'm so resentful. I'm so angry about the fact that we need to make some really core changes. And I'm being told, or like we keep kicking the can down the road. We keep acting like we're going to make the change. We don't make the change. And that change is being defended relentlessly by the owner. And so I realize like I'm getting more and more emotional. And my boyfriend keeps reminding me, like, you don't own this business, girl. Like, you do not. And I have to keep reminding myself, like, you don't have to be here. This is the power of you. You cannot control anything else, but you can control you. I can control me. I can control the fact that I don't want to be in this scenario anymore, which is why I submitted my medical director resignation, because I control me. And being in a situation that's stressing me out, that's wearing me down, that's causing me loss of sleep, that is constantly having me on meetings that are unnecessarily and not going anywhere and creating, do you feel the energy that I feel? Like that friction, that anger is just boiling. I feel like I'm at the boiling point. Why should any job do that to you? Why should you be in a situation where you're literally trying to help people, both the patient side and the business side, and getting to the point where you feel like you're going to boil over and not in your own business? Honey, they got me messed up. Okay. I'm just actually going to write this little thing. Is there a meeting link? Because I didn't create one. But yeah, I'm at that point where I do not want to be the person I'm being. Like, I don't want to be this invested, this upset, this exhausted. And so it is time for me to take my leave. And y'all know I bring y'all the tea piping hot because this situation is continuing to unfold like it was last year when I was negotiating getting into the role. I have more to say about the role, but I just wanted to give you the crux of what's happening right now. I do want to do an episode on part of the renegotiation that was happening because they were trying to convince me to earn less money and I almost fell for it, almost took the okie doke. I do want to do an episode on that. But today's lesson, I just want to say, is look around. If you do not like who you are in any environment or around any one person, walk away. That is your power. It doesn't always feel powerful in the moment. It doesn't always feel like, sometimes it feels like defeat. Sometimes it feels like the only way that I can get back to myself is to let go of all these things that I've worked really hard for. And sometimes you're not willing to do that, and that's okay. But sometimes you are. And right now in this situation, I think up until now, I wasn't willing to do that. And now I am. I'm ready. Next chapter. Hopefully this message blessed you. Have a great day. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe to the podcast. And what I want you to do next is rank us everywhere you can. Instagram at The Black Doctor. Just become part of our collective. I want you here. Thanks. Until next time. Bye.